I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. The meeting of the Appointments and Ordinances Committee is being called to order at 7:03. Going to check more. The meeting is being recorded. Yep, I can see that. The meeting is being recorded. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please let me know that now. Okay, we will do a roll call of members. And thank you again, Councillor Garrett, for taking notes. So, Councillor Garrett?
I am digitally present.
Councillor Williams?
Here.
Councillor Golub is here. Councillor Gordon?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. And I haven't actually facilitated this meeting on remotely like this. I believe that we don't need a roll call because we're all in the same place. Does
No,
anyone?
you have to do a roll call.
Because
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
That is
Great.
right.
Thank you. Thank you for knowing that. Okay, so we will do a roll call vote on the minutes. Councillor Garrett?
Yes.
Councillor Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Golub is a yes. Councillor Gordon?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, there are no public hearings. And would Christy and Donna, I'll let you speak. I'll invite you to speak if there's anything that you'd like to share when we get to your changes. But you also have the opportunity to give public comment right now if you'd like to do that. But you would need to put your name in the chat. So, okay, great. I'm assuming I'm not seeing that there, so there's no public comment. And we will move to the motions. Hold on one second. I want to make this easier for myself to scroll through. Can someone please read the motion that is on page 26 for the appointments?
I can read it.
Thank you.
Order number FY 26-062, City Council Order, City of Greenfield, Massachusetts. The City Council move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council, pursuant to Charter Section 2-10, affirms the following appointments and reappointments by the mayor, all terms to expire December 31st, 2028, unless otherwise posted. Cable Advisory Committee, Jonathan Weber, Anthony Warden, Fernando Fleury as an alternate, Stephen Nemberkow, I'm probably butchering that last name, as an alternate, Mayor's Task Force Against Domestic and Sexual Violence Committee, Ileana Jajori. Majority vote required.
Second that.
Any discussion?
Just a note for the record that Ilana's last name, I think, is pronounced Gurjoy.
Okay.
I might also be wrong about that, which would be extra embarrassing. But yes, and thank you to these folks for volunteering. Ilana is incredibly qualified to serve in this role. She's been doing DV work in Greenfield for a long time, so really glad to have her.
Great. Yeah, thank you to everyone. Okay, so we will take a roll call. Councillor Garrett?
Yes.
Councillor Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Golub is a yes, and Councillor Gordon?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so now we're moving to the discussion part of the agenda. So this is the part that I can take out of order, Christy and Donna. So if you'd like to come onto the camera. And first I'll just say thank you for your patience in waiting for us to finally talk about your pieces, and I'm glad to finally be talking about them. And I am looking at the agenda and just orienting myself for a sec. Can somebody let me know what page on the agenda the rec?
I think I
55?
printed 55. Yeah, that's where I thought I started, but I could be wrong.
No, it's
Okay.
50.
Yep, 55. Okay. So what we do on this in this committee is that this is kind of our process. So, we discuss items that first typically our process is that we discuss items first, and then once the committee feels ready to vote on it, sometimes we can vote on something if it doesn't need a public hearing, but ordinance changes require a public hearing. So if we feel ready, if our questions have been answered and we feel ready to move forward with something, then I would ask the clerk's office to next time hold a public hearing. And then it would go on the motions part of our agenda and we would vote to make a recommendation. We might end up recommending, the whole committee might end up, I'm just admitting someone might recommend, there might be a divided vote, we might not recommend, but then it gets forward, if it has, it gets forwarded with that recommendation to the city council, whatever like the final product is that we're recommending, that goes to city council. So yeah, so I don't know if you need to do like any big presentation. I don't know if you have something. I appreciate you all coming without us even talking about it. And I'm curious if you have something that you would like to share first, or if you just like to go through ordinance by ordinance and share your thoughts about them. What would feel better for you?
Yeah, I certainly didn't prepare anything. I wasn't sure of the sequence that you're going to go through, but I figured we would just respond if you had questions as we go through. The first one being about the alcohol and public consumption.
Okay. Yeah. So then I'll just facilitate and I'll hear from committee members if they have questions and we can go from there. If there's not a question, no need to talk about it. But if there's feels like something we're not understanding or there may be disagreement, or you can feel free to share at that time.
Sure. And Donna, I didn't mean to speak for you. I assumed you kind of felt the same way.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, so the alcoholic beverages, does any discussion on that amendment from the committee?
I just have a question about process.
Sure.
With the added language here about a license for such an activity issued by the Board of License Commissioners and approved by the appropriate department, commission, or board. What does that approval process look like? Because I think I'm confused about what the difference is. But like, if the Board of License Commissioners has issued a license, who else is it that actually needs to approve it then?
So for us, I don't want the Board of Licensing Commissioners to approve something where somebody hasn't filled out a facility use form and asked to use a park or facility, so that we aren't double booked. And obviously I like to let my staff and certainly the police will know through the licensing board if they've approved alcohol, but I always like to touch base with them to make sure they don't have any additional questions or requirements for us overseeing the parks or facility.
Got it. So it's not exactly the same. It's not that the license from the Board of License Commissioners is what needs to be approved by someone else. There's actually kind of a separate approval or at least communication process. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we have a facility use request form. Really, the only place that this has happened is down at the swimming area during the Green River cleanup. And so they fill out their form. They provide us insurance. They also provide insurance to the Board of Licensing. And then we, in the office, approve certainly for the cleanup. I'm very grateful for all the hard work that they do to clean up our riverfront. And then that way we're just on the same page. That way Lori Kay is always communicating with us and or her replacement as she's leaving soon. But that way we're just all on the same page.
Totally. That makes sense. I think in that case, I might suggest a very small tweak to this language to add the words like, and facility use has been approved by or is approved by, just to make it clear that it's not the license from the Board of License Commissioners that actually has to be approved by the department, but that it's a separate piece. Does that make sense? I think that's sort of implied here, but to avoid potential confusion, I think we could just make a small change that could avoid
Yeah,
problems.
that seems like a reasonable amendment. What do you think, Donna?
Sorry, I was having a hard time finding my unmute button. That makes absolute sense to me. I am in agreement with that.
Thank you.
Counselor Gordon, can you please email the clerk's office to ask them to add that language, and unless there's further discussion, if there don't yet send it if there's further discussion, but if there's not further discussion, then I would say this would be ready for a hearing. Is there further discussion on this? No. Okay. Can you do that, Counselor Gordon?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. So moving to the curfew.
Yeah, this is chapter 235, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do counselors have questions or concerns about this one?
This makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yep. It seems like a natural change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, actually, Counselor Gordon, could you have a running email to the clerk's office and add that we would be ready for this one for hearing as well?
Sure.
Thanks.
Although, what are the notes that John is taking? Because I don't
I
know
can
that we need to
also,
double up.
if I can also just write this down. I mean, that's,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So by
yeah.
those lights, Counselor Gordon, could you repeat your amendment to the previous chapter, just so I don't get over my skis here?
Totally. Yeah.
Section
So
209-1.
I wrote it down.
And this is an addition to the sentence, so it would be after the sentence in red, or as part of the sentence.
it's part of the sentence in red.
Okay. Oh God, sorry, the cat just jumped in my lap. Yeah,
The dangers of meeting from home.
I know.
So it would add to that part that's in red.
Yep.
The words. So instead of "and approved by," it would say "and facility use is approved by."
I'm just going to write that whole sentence, so if you can bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So, and Counselor Gordon, one more time, if you don't mind. So, is it before the word approved and
facility use is.
Facility use is. Okay. Perfect. I got it.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you. By okay.
So Counselor Garrett, you will write
I'll
the
just-
note that we're ready for hearings for these things?
Yeah, I'm going to put on the side which ones are ready for hearings.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll bring this to the clerk's office so they can ask me any questions about my chicken scratch while I'm there.
Great. Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
So let us know when you're ready for the next one.
Yep. What chapter is public consumption? Just as a reference. Is it chapter 209?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
So chapter 209, and then our next one is chapter 235. And these are both ready for public hearing. Okay, I'm good.
Yep. Okay. So then the next one is the smoking ordinance. And counselors, I know I have some thoughts about this. I'm curious to hear from other counselors what your thoughts about this one are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you first. Yeah, do you want to go?
Sure. I appreciate the addition of vapes and the name changes. Those all seem like they make sense. If we're going to ban smoking, it makes a lot of sense to ban vaping. language is getting rid of the specifics. The fines, I would love to hear more about from Director Moore, but I also, that's really my only question, the specific numbers on those.
So Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this might be what we were proposing was just to have no smoking in all parks.
Right.
So
Right. And
not, sorry,
my
Donna.
recollection of the fines was that when we looked in other places, they were inconsistent. And so we were making some changes to make them consistent with other areas in the code, although I'm sorry, I don't remember which areas those were exactly.
Yeah, I do remember that too. But as I look at this, like with H, like our biggest problem, like at the swimming area, as you can see, like it's 100 feet from a sports field or 100 feet from a playground or 25 feet from the beach, or 25 feet from the pavilion. Nobody ever measures all of that. So I think with our discussion with the rec commission, we just wanted to say across the board, like all parks are no smoking.
Right.
So I'll share what I think the redundancy is. I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that fines are elsewhere in the code. I think that if we scroll down the Parks and Recreation chapter, facilities, chapter 322,
Right.
also says no smoking in public parks. And it says pending chapter 3364 smoking changes. And so I think that what the rationale was, and I know you all wrote this a long time ago, was to move that no smoking in any public parks up to the smoking ordinance, which is
That's right.
yeah. So I think that was the redundancy. And I think that, and I'll share just my sense of this is that I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I don't like smoking. I don't love smoking. And it makes sense to me that there'd be no smoking in public parks, although I could be convinced otherwise, but that part really makes sense to me. The part that I honestly don't love is the increase in the fines, especially, and both of the increases in the fines, particularly in Veterans Mall, because I'll call on you. I see your hand, Councilor Gordon. I don't think that, I think that the people who are more likely to be smoking there are lower income. I think that this is it's right next to a smoke shop. I don't think that it's one of the things that we agreed to at the beginning of our process was enforceability. And I don't think I don't like the idea of really this whole chapter personally, the entire article, but definitely not increasing the fines. And I would actually be in favor of just striking through the fine of an additional $100. And I would want to keep the fines the way they were for the first part of this, starting with the written warning. I still think it should not. I don't think smoking should happen there, but I don't like the idea of people being fined large amounts of money. So I'm curious. I see Councilor Gordon and then Councilor Garrett.
Yeah, I share your concerns on that, Councilor Golub, and at the same time, I recognize that smoking in public places really does have some pretty severe impacts on people. Particularly, I'm thinking of friends of mine who have kids who have really bad asthma, who at this point like can't go to some places in downtown or the swimming area, if people are smoking. And so I wonder, how we find the balance on that. And I'd be curious to hear from you, Director Moore, like with the previous kind of fines, the warning and then the fine where they were, how has that been going? Like, has that been enforceable? What other ways are there? Have you found success in getting people not to smoke in these places, if any?
Yeah. It's really just conversations, and usually like I can't assign fines. It's the police that would assign the fines. So that's kind of where my hands are tied. At the swimming area or any park, like if somebody complains directly to me, like I'll just try and move them to the edge of the facility or near the road so they're away from people. But I myself can't, I'm not authorized to assign fines. I can like ask people to leave from like a facility if it gets confrontational, but that's my last resort. It's not something I want to do. And then I just want to comment about Veterans Mall if I could, because that's Article 2 separately.
Yeah.
So how this is written, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, the fines are on -9 on the second page over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has ever been cited, given a fine for smoking, but I would have to ask the police about that. So I don't know if that really answers your question.
It's helpful context. I mean, the other piece of this is like, I don't think that we should have to call in the police, in a situation where like really it's just a matter of someone smoking where they shouldn't be. But of
Right.
course, we don't have great systems in place, at least yet, to have another form of response. So to be honest, I'm not exactly sure where this takes me in terms of what I think we should do. But I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts.
Councillor Garrett, do you mind if I just interject a clarification to that question?
No, actually, my question was Councilor Gordon's second question about what's been going on so far. So that's what I was going to ask, is how's it been going so far? So feel free.
Okay, so so basically another form of that question. So when people are people being given written warnings at the parks? Do they stop when they're given written warnings? Do people typically stop when you just go up and talk to them? Do they get belligerent? Like any more details about that?
Yeah, obviously it depends on case by case and how you approach the individual. Our biggest complaints are at the swimming area. There's no smoking on the beach, and then our staff will tell them that they can smoke in the parking lot. Even if we say no smoking in the parks, people are gonna smoke. Like people who have addiction problems are gonna smoke. And so we just try and have them be as far away from any of the families or youth or ball fields as possible. But as you can see on here, like this was amended in 2019. I'm not sure what those amendments were. And I certainly was here then, but I've been here 19 years. I've never given anybody a written warning. It's usually just a verbal conversation that I have with anybody about smoking. And as Donna had shared before, I don't have that stuff in front of me, but she's right. Like we were trying to just make the fines all in alignment with other things. But I'd have to go back and look at our research on that, because I mean, we originally wrote these, I think, and edited in 2020.
Okay. Councillor Williams?
Yeah. Do the police actually have the police given out written warnings?
I mean, I can't answer that without asking them.
Okay.
I think they would be the same way that I said, we'd just have a conversation and ask them to either move along or smoke someplace where there aren't other individuals that are offended by the smoke.
I would say that this system as it's written isn't really enforceable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that written, we're not sure about the written warnings, who gives them, who keeps track of them. You have to do the written warning before you do a fine. It's not like we have grievance files somewhere around this stuff. So it seems to me, and I feel pretty strongly in agreement with Catherine, the folks downtown, we've got a bigger problem than smoking, folks. We got we have some serious mental health issues, and those folks smoke, drink, whatever, and I don't want to make their lives more intolerable than they already are, frankly. So I think that I don't know how we can do an enforceability. I did smoke for 30 years. I was highly addicted, and I would figure out a way of having a cigarette if I needed one. That's how badly addicted I was. I've been clean for 20, 25, 30 years now. But the point being is, at this point, I don't think we should be doing the financial burden, which is not going to be even able to be implemented. In fact, I don't know what can be implemented, but maybe just a few words. The few words that have worked thus far, maybe that is the best way to continue. At least we can keep track. We can deal with it as it arises, as opposed to keep track. We're not going to create records on people around smoking cigarettes, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Director Moore?
Yeah, I forgot as I was looking at section B here, the Board of Health and the police those are the two that can in the city are allowed to assign fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Board of Health is just as busy as the police department, so I don't think that they've issued any either.
So I'm still trying to get clear about what exactly is happening. So it sounds like we've narrowed down that where this is a real challenge for folks is at the swimming area. Am I hearing that accurately? That you're really wanting to try to keep people safe from smoking at the swimming area? Am I understanding that right?
Well, no, I do think it's all parks, like certainly at like Beacon Field when we have events, there's no smoking. I make announcements at the fireworks, but again, it's you can't enforce it when there's thousands of people in one space. There's just not enough of us, and we certainly don't want any chaos to erupt over asking people not to smoke.
Right. And so having an ordinance in writing is, I think it's important for some prevention, like having it in writing that this is not something that we want in our public spaces. I think that having it written is important. I'm not understanding, given maybe the fines, I don't see how they could be written. I was like, maybe they're in some department's policy, but I don't see how they could be different than in the ordinance. I don't think that that they're written anywhere differently in the code. I think that these are the only, because besides of this, it's the charter. Like, I don't see where this would live in the code elsewhere, the fines. But so I hear the primary aim of your primary aim is consistency. I'm wondering if it was consistent, is there a reason why you all would want to see the fines increase? Like, do you think that that's actually more preventative than what you currently have? No, I don't.
Yeah, Donna, do you have an answer for that?
It's a really, really tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
We understand that they are not enforceable. We understand that the people who will comply are the people that are compliant, and the people who won't will give us a hard time about it. Mm-hmm. As Chrissy said, it was a while ago, but I think that part of our logic was that this might put some teeth into it, even though we know that it would be extremely difficult to enforce. But people tend to ignore the rules all the time in our parks, which is very unfortunate. And it's very difficult, especially at the swimming pool, where you have a staff that quite often is teenagers having to tell people that they can't do something, and those people being belligerent. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to be able to figure out how we could handle those situations in such a way that everything worked out smoothly and our staff didn't get verbally abused.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Councilor Garrett,
I did. So something that just came to mind is
Councilor Williams.
Yeah, sorry. So just coming to mind, like I know we now have cigarette disposal bins in downtown, in some of these areas where smoking is prohibited because we've all kind of acknowledged people that are going to do the thing they're not supposed to do are going to do it anyway. Um, I guess I'm wondering, this is not directly related to the question of fines, but have you found that to be effective for cleanup of the parks, which I'm sure your department has to deal with? Like, are you finding less cigarette butts in Veterans Park, for example? And then I'm also wondering, and I don't know even know how I feel about this idea, but like a designated smoking area in one of the parks, like in the Green River Park, is there an area that would make sense? Like take a parking spot and turn it into like the smoker's cage, and then you could direct, and then it's like because we know the people who are addicted are going to need to smoke. They're with their kids. They want to be a good parent. They got to, whatever. The other parent watches the kids when they go rifle down a cigarette. Is that something the department's ever considered, or is that a bad idea in your opinion? As somebody who actually deals with it day to day.
So that's exactly what we do at the swim area. We ask them to go to the parking lot, but the far side, so over by the road, so there aren't people like picnicking and sitting on the beach. Because you're right, like people are going to do it anyways, and I'd rather have them all in one space in one section of the park. As far as the Main Street cigarette butt dispensers, I don't know. I'd have to talk to DPW if they've really seen a big difference in that. We've talked about those before, but in the parks, but because at the swimming area at the beach, there's no smoking, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like I don't want to have it there because then it seems like, oh, I can smoke over here. And if we put it on the far side, it's just harder again for pickup and seeing if like it got knocked over and that kind of stuff. But we certainly could talk about that potentially.
When you say the far side, you mean by the parking lot where you've been sending people?
By the road, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The road edge of the parking lot.
Councilor Williams.
Yeah, so what I was going to suggest, part of what John suggested, that if in fact at that far side, if in fact there was a designated smoking area, it was posted, there was maybe a bench there and a place to dispose of cigarettes, I think that would encourage compliance. This is something that hospitals have been dealing with for a long time because obviously you can't smoke in a hospital anywhere, but you have staff that do smoke. So you create what's called a butt hut outside around the corner from the hospital, and that's where people go to smoke, and people are compliant with it. So, that might be part of the solution.
John, please make sure that butt hut gets in the notes.
I don't think I can use that with my teenage staff, I will say, but
right. Sorry.
It's there with a question mark after it now. So butt hut.
We just created an inside joke. So question, what percentage of the people who you ask to move over there would you say move? I know it's not but like what would your estimate be?
I would say probably 80 to 90%. Some who just refuse to. Again, we just continue to ask them nicely to step away or go someplace else. But most of the time they listen.
Okay. And for the people who are belligerent like that, what do you do?
Well, if I'm there, so we have lifeguards and we have park managers, so we kind of go up the chain with my staff down there. If I'm there, I'll deal with it. But obviously, I just tell everybody I don't want any confrontation to happen. If you asked multiple times and they are rude and they're disrespectful, I just tell them to walk away. If somebody complains in that area, we'll let them know that we've tried multiple times and they're just not following the rules. And there are times in more serious incidents down there that we do have to call the police, and they do their rounds as much as possible to be there so that people know that they're available if we need them.
And how many times, again, I'm not holding you to any of this, but let's just that you can recall, Like in the last year, did cops intervene when people were smoking that you're aware of?
I don't think we've never called the cops just for smoking. That's not something that we would bother them with. We
Okay.
try and solve that on our own.
Okay. How would you feel about writing in a designated smoking area into the ordinance? And Director Moore.
I guess I would want to talk a little bit more with the commission about that and what the wording would be, because we kind of do it on our own. It's just not in the ordinance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that way we're not tied to it if it doesn't work, I guess.
Yeah.
Donna, your thoughts?
Well, I think that this one needs to go back to the drawing board. It sounds like it won't be put forth to the city clerk, this particular item. And so I think that we need to take it back to the Recreation Commission and have some more conversation about it.
Okay. Councilor
Well,
Guerra.
I'll also just add that it does seem to me like having a designated area, if you all deem that, practical, might also address the issue of like not having measured what's within 25 feet of the beach or 100 feet of the field or whatever. Like we, instead of those measurements that no one's making, if there was a designated area, it could just, be smoking is only allowed within a designated area. Just a thought.
Councilor Garrett.
Just regarding not tying the recreation department's hands, if the commission looks at this language, the suggestion might be something along the lines of just simply saying, in this item here, number H, all public parks except in designating smoking areas at the department's discretion. So if it doesn't work, it still gives you the power to take it away. Because, our goal is to have you guys be successful. We want to give you the tools that are useful to you. And so, if I don't want to see anybody's hands tied to something that's a bad idea as an experiment. So I think that, at least personally, I would look favorably. I think that would be a good way to go about it, is giving you the power to decide if it's working or not.
Could you repeat that for my notes?
Sure. Yeah. So, for example, I'm looking at section 264-3, section H, keeping the change to read all public parks except in designating smoking areas created at the department's discretion. And that kind of gives you carte blanche to take them away, move them around, figure out what works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
As Donna said, I think we just need to talk about this one again.
Yeah, and I hope that you can tell from this conversation that we really do want, like, I think it feels like we're all on the same page. Sorry, my teenagers in the room. It feels like we're on the same page and wanting to at the beginning of the ordinance review, we decided that we wanted to focus on or orient our conversations around three values, which are equity, enforceability, and expense. And so we want to take care of the public's health, and to be honest, in what is enforceable, and it's tricky given the current structures that we have. So if you are thinking this through and want to have a conversation with me before you bring it forward, no need to do that, but know that I'm available to be of support with this. And we have some experience, and Councilor Garrett's very good at that and so is everyone here, writing the language at like the right size in a right sized way. So hopefully that's helpful. My real concern is just increasing fines. But so my other question is, if you'll take back our article, at least Article 1, Article 2. Do you all feel strongly about the existence of this? Does this feel like it's under the existence of Article 2? How strongly do you feel about that? Because I see you increasing fines. So it sounds to me like my assumption was that it mattered to you all, but does it?
Are you asking me? Or you're
Yes. Yeah. I'm curious
okay?
to hear your opinion. Yeah. Thank you.
I think we were just trying to be uniform across as far as the fines
Okay.
and then obviously we just added the vape pens because they're just everywhere now.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Counselors, any other thoughts about any of the smoking stuff?
The only thing I just noticed about the Veterans Mall section versus the Article 1 section is there was a higher fee on Veterans Mall, presumably because the people that wrote it assumed it was a worse problem. So I think that's why there's an Article 1 and an Article 2, because Veterans Mall was clear it was targeted for extra enforcement.
And Veterans Mall that's a really great point. Veterans Mall is a public park, correct?
We list it under our parks and facilities, but it's really the management of the trustees of the Soldiers Memorial.
Okay. And given what you just said, Councilor Garrett, if Article 1 lists all public parks, regardless of under whose jurisdiction it is, then I would assume that Article 1 does cover Veterans Mall, in which case Article 2 would be redundant and could be striked through. Are you reading it the same way? Is anyone else here reading it differently than that?
If I may, the only thing I see is like they have to have that special sign posted. That's the big difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they also have the disposition of fines included, which is not in Article 1.
Uh-huh. Okay. Any other? I wanted to name that I am considering just saying that we would strike through Article 2. And bringing that for discussion. Would anyone be opposed to striking through counselors, given that it's all public parks? Yes, Councilor Garrett?
If the rec commission is planning on looking at this ordinance anyway, I'd be inclined to let them make
Sounds
a
good.
whether they think that's worthwhile or not.
Yep. Okay. So Director Moore and Donna, can you please take that into account that we're seeing that? I'd appreciate your thoughts about that.
I'll also reach out to our veterans agent and ask him as well.
Okay. Thank you. Great. Do you have a sense of when you might bring back new thoughts on this? No rush, but just curious so I can keep that in mind.
We can try and get it on the January agenda, maybe.
Okay. Just so you know, to get it, I have no expectation of you getting this to the clerk in the next 10 days with the holiday season and everything. In order to get it there for January, it would need to arrive. You would need to send it to the clerk's office by 5 days before the first Tuesday of the month. So I'm assuming that probably won't be possible. I want to give you all spaciousness.
Yeah, no, I meant at our January meeting
Okay.
with the rec commission, we can look at it.
Perfect. Okay.
Because we're meeting tomorrow, so our
Great.
agenda's already been posted.
Okay, perfect. That whenever you get it, that sounds good. Okay, moving on. So now we come to chapter 322. Counselors, any questions about this?
None for me.
No? Any from you, Counselor Williams?
No, no questions.
Okay, so Counselor Garrett, can you let the clerks know that it's ready for hearing? Please. Okay. And okay, now chapter 173. Counselors, any discussion about this one? And I appreciate Director Moore. I appreciate we talked about this a long time ago, and this feels much clearer than the initial version. So I appreciate your work on this.
No questions.
Councillor Gordon, any questions from you?
Nope, this looks good to me.
All right. Yep, Councillor Garrett, if you can let the clerk's office know that we're ready for hearing, that would be great.
Sounds good.
Okay. Great. I think that those are all the pieces from your office. Is there anything that we're missing that you're aware of?
So the next one was the animals.
Okay, got it. So yes, let's talk about animals. So I'll let you know, Councillor Moore, that the reason that this one's taking a while is that several different people are bringing pieces, and Councillor Garrett and Councillor Gordon, you all committed to bringing pieces on this. The clerk's office has brought some pieces, and we wanted to bring them all forward together. So Councillor Garrett and Councillor Gordon, can you please give us an update?
Sure. So this is the part that we were looking at is the issue of dog bites, and the challenge is the enforceability part. So just in general, so that's been kind of the consistent issue. Looking at the kind of thing overall, like the leash law, for example, I just like the enforceability of a lot of this. How do you designate a dog as a problem dog? How do you actually get that enforced? Because it's not like, I'm thinking of Highland Park, for example. Wait, I will not take my dog up there because there's always dogs off leash wandering around Highland Park. And so it's a really difficult challenge. And I'm actually really glad you're here, because I'm sure that you understand deeply this challenge and have thoughts about it. And so that's the part where I keep getting stuck, is the enforceability piece. Obviously, we want to prevent, dangerous dogs. We want to prevent people from violating the leash laws that already exist. But just right off the bat, I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on that. Just like the fact that there's kind of blatant disregarding of leash laws, for example, makes me have a harder time understanding what to do about a dog that bites, furthermore.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I feel like we're very oversigned, but if we don't have signs up, it's hard for the police or the Board of Health to enforce. So at Highland, actually, I'm working with DPW about getting signs at Highland, because I've had so many complaints recently about dogs off leash and scaring people, quite frankly. And I wish we had more money to have, real park rangers, walking around to interact with the public in the parks, or I wish I had time to, but I certainly don't either. Yeah, it's really hard. All of this stuff, we want people to sort of self-police themselves and follow the rules, but as Donna shared, there are people who just are rule breakers. So I don't have a real answer other than having a sign that if somebody calls to complain that the police can point to and then issue a fine or a warning or whatnot.
No, thank you. I mean, I'm grateful that you guys are keeping an eye on it. I am sure there are plenty of people ringing the phone about this issue. Counselor Gordon, do you have anything else you wanted to add about dog bites in particular?
Not specific to dog bites. I mean, I think the general update, to add to what Counselor Garrett said is first of all, we really appreciate the suggested changes that were put forth by the clerk, and I see your name in here as well, Director Moore. We looked into like the 48-page animal ordinance from the city of Calgary. Like there are some best practices out there from other cities, but everything does come down to enforceability. And obviously we don't need a 48-page animal ordinance here in Greenfield. We're not about to suggest that. I do appreciate the addition here about, all dogs must, just clarifying, like all dogs must be on leash in all parks unless they're in a designated enclosed dog space. But I think, yeah, the signage would help. And at the end of the day, I'm with y'all. I don't know exactly what else there is to be done other than, my mind goes to things that live outside of ordinances, like, how do we have any kind of public dialogue that gets people to understand why it's problematic when they let their dogs run around off leash in Highland Park, et cetera. But that's not something that we can codify in an ordinance. So, I think the update part is the Counselor Garrett and I are comfortable with the language that's put forward here. We don't have further additions or changes that we're going to be proposing. And we're going to remain a little bit of a sticky problem.
Okay. Counselor Williams?
Yes. So in looking at this, I noticed that the animal control officer, the city animal control officer is mentioned. And I wanted to remind people we laid off the animal control officer last July because those duties were being taken over, I think by the sheriff's department, actually.
I think that's correct.
So the language needs to get corrected regarding that.
Don't we still refer to that person as the animal control officer, though? It's just not that it's just an ACO that doesn't work for the city. It's an ACO that works for the sheriff's department. That was my understanding.
But then that person isn't under our jurisdiction, so.
Yeah, but they still have to respond to things in the city because that's why we have the agreement.
Yeah,
With
okay.
them in the first place. So I think that it's still covered, but it's worth double checking.
Okay, just wanted to note that.
If I
Thank you.
remember,
Yeah.
I think we used to have an animal control officer. Weren't this shared with Montague prior to this?
Yes, we had a wonderful animal control officer who chased my dog up and down Route 91 at 3:00 in the morning and saved his life. So I was so sad to hear him leave, but I was told everything was okay. But no, we no longer have one connected to the police department like we used to.
So this language, I would really like to have it be ready to go forward. I know the clerk's office has been waiting a while. I know you all have been waiting a while. Counselor Gordon and Counselor Garrett, can you verify that? It sounds like I heard two things just now. I heard one, we won't be putting forward language. And I also heard that this piece, just the jurisdiction of the ACO is important to check on. So I guess my two questions are, besides checking on that, is it, you're clear that you're not bringing forward any new language because it's not enforceable?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And can one of you commit to finding this out before is it possible for one of you to find it out before the 5-day rule so that we can just get this language?
Well, my question would be, can we say to the clerk, can we sort of do a 2-for-1, like, and say to the clerk, because she would know, I think, if the ACO language as written suffices for the relationship that we have with the ACO with the sheriff's office. So I think that we could say, if if this language is accurate, accurately reflects the whatever relation, contract we have with the sheriff's office regarding the ACO, then this is ready to move forward for a public hearing, right? Like, I don't know that we need to delay another month just to check on that piece.
Yeah. And I'm going to go to the clerk's office tomorrow to drop off the notes anyway. I'll ask these, and I'm writing the question in the notes, so I'll ask.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would say then, is there any other discussion of this before it goes for a public hearing next month? No? Okay, great. Thank you for asking that question, Councilor Garrett. Okay, anything else, Director Moore?
I think the only other thing that we had, which I don't see listed tonight, was under chapter 550 for the planning board.
Oh, chapter
Section-
550 for the planning board.
Section 3, we just wanted to add after the inspector of buildings to have like a sign off for the rec commission or rec department
Was that
under the review.
Was that in your initial proposals?
Yeah, it's just
Could
that
you-
one little section.
Okay, could you do us all a favor and check that with the clerk's office, because we put forward changes to the planning department, the code related to planning many months ago, and we may have included that, but I
okay.
actually don't remember. If
Sure.
Does anyone else remember?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And so I think you're correct, Councilor Golub. I'm trying to look on the city website, but if the new laws thing is not always thorough.
Okay.
It was really minor, so it was just adding
Yeah.
us to check off in case any development had any impact on a park or whatnot. Just a quick awareness
Okay.
check.
Okay. Would you be willing to check to see if it was already passed, Director Moore? That would be really helpful.
Yeah, I can check in with Kathy or Quinn.
Okay, great. Could you CC me on that email just so that I'm alerted? Okay, great.
But that was the last that I recall. Is there anything else that you remember, Donna? But I think that was everything.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you both a lot for showing up. I really appreciate you being here with us and having this discussion and continuing to grapple with the smoking piece. That's an important one.
Yeah, we'll work on that. And thank you for all your hard work for the city.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. It's
Yeah.
y'all are amazing. It's amazing what our rec department does. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
You're
Thank
here,
you.
Thanks.
You're here at 8:00 on a Wednesday.
Without being asked to be here. So thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Have a
You
good
too.
night. Okay. So I'm reorienting to the top of the agenda. All right, so let's go to hybrid meetings. And I'll start the discussion on this one.
Where are we in the agenda? I'm sorry.
Page 32 on hybrid meetings. So we had talked about what happens if there's no equipment to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we emailed the clerk's office and asked if there were emergency powers in the code. And the clerk, Kathy, said that clerk Scott said that she didn't know of any. And we were contemplating language like, in the event that the city's current technology does not work, the mayor can call emergency meeting declaration. And I often have a hard time reading and leading the meeting at the same time. So when I went back in just the last couple of days, I realized that I believe that this is covered by, I believe that our concerns are
Whoop.
Hmm.
Everyone froze.
I think just Catherine throws.
Oh,
Yeah, I only see Catherine frozen.
okay.
Do you guys have GSET? I always find that when it rains, the internet is worse.
I have GSET.
Yeah.
I have GSET and I find that it's just terrible at random times. It seems to be actually struggling a little bit more lately. I mean, not more terrible certainly than Comcast or anything else ever was. We are not pushing GSET, but yeah, I've been really struggling with it, especially with Zoom lately.
Well, she's still logged in. I guess we just wait.
I guess.
Yeah. No, Catherine is calling me, so I'm going to find out what that's about.
Okay.
Let me figure out how to mute the Zoom meeting first, though, so you're not hearing terrible feedback.
Hello.
There she is.
Here I am. My computer stopped. Just bear with, which I don't really quite understand because it's been charged. It's been charging. It seems like it's charged enough. I don't know. But so the meeting didn't stop
No.
when I left? Okay, that's good. All right, hold on. I'm rearranging my view. Well, look, we had a technology issue and here we are. Okay, so I was going to say that I believe that's weird. I believe that the issue is taken care of by the G by 497G, and I want to read it to see if it feels like it meets your needs or are all of our needs. It says that in the event that a public body required to conduct hybrid meetings has provided public notice of an upcoming meeting and an emergency, subsequently makes either in-person access or remote access impossible, the public body shall consider the practicality of rescheduling the meeting to a time when it can conduct a hybrid meeting. But if rescheduling is not practical, the body shall provide reasonable advance notice to the public and conduct the meeting entirely in person or entirely remotely. And now, once I read that, I remember we talked about that a lot. And reasonable is up to interpretation. It's reasonable if it's a big snowstorm to say we're meeting remotely tonight, which we did. It's not a big snowstorm, but I was in inclement weather and I decided to do it remotely. And I gave as much notice as I was able. And we had decided with the many people who were talking about this, that was the most right-sized way to name that. So the emergency situation, I believe, and everyone who worked on this believed that that was covered. I'm curious how that, if that meets the concerns that were raised in the last conversation. Yeah, Councilor Garrett.
Like the situation tonight, if this was law right now.
This is law.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Since this is law right now, you think this counts as an emergency under the way this is written because of the weather being inclement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what we discussed with the ACLU, with the clerk's office, with the various other people that looked at this.
How would you feel about saying an emergency such as inclement weather?
That's fine with me.
Because then I can live with it.
Okay. That works for me. And such as doesn't limit it to other emergencies, like
right.
All the tech goes down.
Right.
It should be including but not limited to.
That's exactly what I was just going to suggest.
I agree. Can you write that in your notes?
Yeah, so this is, let's see, we're looking at section 49.7 to section 7. And this is
G.
G, thank you. Section 7G. Then after the word Emergency. Emergency, including but not limited to inclement weather.
Mhm.
Okay.
I also believe that the primary concern for appropriation was translation services, and my interpretation of 49.7E is that the word reasonable gives a bunch of space to this. I would be okay with adding subject to appropriation to this clause, but I think that it already articulates that. So it says, public bodies shall make reasonable efforts to accommodate and assist persons with limited English proficiency, such as by providing additional time for comment, interpretation, or translation. Reasonable is up to interpretation, and there could be argument, there could be reasonable, there could be understandable argument about that. But currently, it could be argued that we are making reasonable efforts, and there's just not a budget for it. So I would say it would be redundant to add subject to appropriation to that clause. If you folks have thoughts, and with that also, I would like to strike through the additional clause subject to appropriation, because that's just the case with all of the ordinances. And I don't want to single this one out by writing that.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that I was the person who were getting stuck on that, but if it's just a given with everything, then it's a given with everything, and we don't need to state it specifically for this one.
We're setting precedent in this. Like it is a given. Yeah,
right.
It just is. It's like I haven't brought forward changes to the plastic bags ordinance. I personally am a fan of that, and the city is not currently funding enforcement, and that's, in my opinion, a problem. But I don't want to get rid of the ordinance because we're not funding enforcement. So that's a different ordinance, but it's a metaphor.
I don't quite follow the logic there, but I'm still comfortable with this one, not saying that.
Okay, sounds good. Would folks be okay with that one? Not including that proposed amendment?
I think so. So. I'm just kind of chewing on it.
Yeah, me too. There's something wrong.
Yeah. I think, it's fun. I honestly, my main kind of reflection right now is this is why it's valuable to not rush stuff. Like, I appreciate that we have had a discussion on this over more than 1 month, because it does, some parts of this feel easier. The stuff you've brought up was helpful, than the discussion last month, so like, that's my initial thought. I think what you're saying makes sense. The phrase reasonable efforts, I guess I'm just trying to parse that could be interpreted by somebody legally, and so, like, could somebody look at the city and say, oh, well, look at your budget for, I don't know. I'm going down my hypothetical path again. Just like, how can reasonable be interpreted, But
I mean, we didn't rush this.
No,
many people looked at this for such a long time, and it was in committee for a long time. And
I'm certainly not accusing anybody of rushing it. I'm just grateful that we looked at it last month and we're looking at it again. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, because like it's different in a different light is all. Yeah.
Yeah.
My gut instinct says it's okay to get rid of that amendment at the end. I think the initial way, I think what's kind of I'm remembering is initially that amendment was placed into the section on transcription by Clerk Scott out of concern. No, is that not correct?
No, she is proposing this language. And I said, well, I'd be willing, because that's been the sticky wicket for this whole time. She and I have been working to add language, which the clerk's office just did, to put all this required public comment information onto all of the agendas in a simplified way. Like we've been working on this a long time. So I'm like, oh, sorry if I'm a little like sounding irritated. It's like, it's been a long time and it's been a law for a while. We voted on this. So, so the sticky wicket was that we were trying to figure out, Aaron was trying to figure out how to pay for translation services. There isn't a budget for that. And I said, that's not, I don't want to hold that. I don't want not having funding for translation services hold us back from putting information about public comment on agendas. And so yeah, so that's, am I answering your question? Do I need to repeat that?
No, it makes sense. Again, I'm sorry for taking a second. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councilor Williams.
So if somebody comes to a council meeting
Mm-hmm.
and they're requesting translation and we don't have it because it's not budgeted for, so therefore we have not enlisted the services of a translator, and they point to this ordinance and says, well, then why does this say this? It seems there's something contradictory here. We're saying
yeah, so I do. And honestly, this is something I care a lot about, but it's also not the primary aim of the ordinance. So it's a clause that could be removed. But I see the benefit of this being like the language that Clerk Scott just put forward. I'm not remembering it verbatim to add to public comments. The public comment section includes something about people being able to bring a translator of their own, right? Or if someone's in the room and can do it, that the time is allotted to that there's some spaciousness allotted to that, right? Okay. Whereas if we had a chair, and currently that has been the practice, like if someone's come who's a Spanish speaker, I have translated before I was on council because, Rudy let that happen. But if we had a chair who was opposed to people being able to speak, this offers an additional protection to people being able to advocate for themselves getting that interpretation or translation, even if it's not funded by the city.
Okay, I got it. I got what you're saying.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And I appreciate the question. And I'm thinking to myself too, it's good that we're talking about this. I may personally feel like I've spent a lot of time on this, but this is part of us like all understanding this ordinance, and that's really important.
Okay.
So, I see a question, I think, at your face, Councilor Garrett.
No, I'm good with it. I was just thinking about the whole process and where these pieces ended up. And I was also just thinking like equal protection of the law says everyone has a right to access their government. So even if we didn't have this and we didn't provide translation services, I'm like, the 14th Amendment, like the way our legal structure is set up, is at least in theory, everybody should have access to government, right? So I think this is fine. As without that last clause, the Clerk Scott wanted to have there about appropriation, because as we've talked about, you mentioned the plastic bags. Like, yeah, we have a law that doesn't have provisions about not enforcing it, and it's not being enforced. I got Chinese food in, a plastic bag 3 hours ago.
Yeah. And yes, I'm glad. I am grateful for your knowledge of the Constitution and the law. And this is not a disagreement. This is and in these times, may we uphold those laws locally too and be redundant in the places.
No one else is going to.
Exactly. Okay. So. So do folks feel good about sending this back to the clerk's office saying we're going to strike that last line, but we are ready to put this forward for a hearing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Councilor Gordon?
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay, great. All right. So rules of procedure. So this starts on page 38. Counselor Brown, is that you?
Yes, sorry. I can't rename myself right now, so I'm not sure why.
Okay. Okay, so if we have questions about rules of procedure, if we have questions about rules of procedure, we can ask you. Thank you for being present. Okay, so when I read I read the minutes about this one, and it seems like there's 4 pieces, one of which I couldn't remember. Are we on the same page with this? Am I interpreting this right? So there were 2 pieces, one about 5, 6, 8, and feel free to interrupt me if I'm wrong. Like as I name something, if I'm wrong, just interrupt me. 5, 6, 8, 5, 8 was a suggestion to add the word current and add at hand. And I think there's no discussion needed on that one. We can just say that we're ready to put that forward. Do you agree on that one? I don't think we need to talk about that. I think we already did. I'm pausing after the first one because I want to make sure or if there's a lot going on in this one.
All right, Catherine, would you mind repeating that? I was still pulling up the rules of
Do
procedure.
not mind. And in fact, I will go in order of the numbers and I won't start there. So the one I'm not remembering is if we start the First Amendment, 5652B, special meetings. I'm not understanding the minutes and I'm not remembering what happened there. Can someone remember that? Yeah. Councilor Garrett.
I see Councilor Gordon has her mic on, and she had a question about it, is what I remember.
Yeah. The question about it was around this, like, what the requirement actually is for receipt confirmation. Like, it's one thing to send something by secure electronic communication that allows receipt confirmation, but it was unclear to me if that then requires another step on the part of the person receiving it, like, or if that's a passive step somehow that, like, they email it to us and then they know we've received it through magic spells that they have cast. Like, but if not, then, like, allowing for receipt confirmation without clarity about how that's actually supposed to happen is where I get confused.
Okay. And I don't think that the clerk has answered this question. I don't remember, or I don't even know if we sent in this question explicitly. Do you all know if there's been communication about this piece?
I don't think I've gotten or seen any answer about it.
Okay. Councilor Garrett, could you include, or Councilor, who thinks what is the best way to communicate about this? And this may be an email. This may be fit for email. I see you. Are you writing?
I mean, the whole time, yes. But
thank you. Are you writing a question to the clerk's office about
that? Yeah. So I certainly am planning on doing that. But I'm like I said, I'm going to be in there tomorrow, so we want to know what does receipt confirmation mean, and what are we going to do with that information? I guess, like, is there an answer that would result in us not taking any further action, or are we just asking for clarification? Are we going to put this towards a public hearing regardless of the answer?
No, we should clarify.
Okay,
it should be clarified before.
This
It's
probably
important to me, at least, that we're all clear about what we're voting on before we put something to a hearing.
So ask about that.
Yeah, and maybe just email or just if that could be clarified, and they could propose clarified language. And I bet once we have that, it could be ready for a hearing. But you can ask about that, Councilor Garrett.
Yep, I absolutely will.
Okay, thank you. And then, was everyone able? Okay, wait. Then there's. We didn't have questions about the next pieces.
There was an update to the consent agenda from Counselor Brown, wasn't there? Like in purple somewhere?
Yes, so that's the next thing, I think. I'm just wanting to make sure we're going in order through this. Was that that's an easier way to ask the question. Is there anything else pending from this besides the consent agenda? Any other questions pending from this besides the consent agenda? No?
None that I remember.
Okay. Counselor Garrett, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to find the consent agenda piece. I think I'm looking at. I looked at a version of this earlier that had purple.
Yeah, I
Counselor
think,
Brown's, and now I'm
yeah,
not
so
seeing it for some reason.
if you want to come on, Counselor Brown.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi. Are you able to see you?
I can turn on my video. I'm just like working on stuff while you all were having your meeting.
Okay. I'm looking for the email from you.
Oh, okay. It's in an email. That's what I. So it's not in the packet. That's why I was struggling with this.
Yeah. So where are we? Yeah, it didn't make it into the packet. Okay. So, but I think so if folks can to be able to see, I would looking at this, I would be happy to propose new language that's coming from Counselor Brown to change the consent agenda to make it clearer and to be able to read it. I will say it, but to be able to read it, it would be on a email from yesterday from Counselor Brown at 7:27 a.m. And it's saying that any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon request of any city council member to the council president prior to the meeting. And that any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon request of any city council member prior to the vote to approve the motion. Does that address the concerns that folks brought up last time?
I think so. So just so I'm clear, so we get to the consent agenda item on the agenda, and there's a motion, there's a second, and there's no discussion allowed except for clarification, right? So, and then the president calls for a vote. It's like, okay, I think we're ready for a vote. And after that point, as soon as the president says, I'm calling for a vote, you can no longer remove stuff from the consent agenda. Right?
Right, because you're voting on the entire agenda, correct?
Right. So you have before the meeting, and it says, and I guess the only other question, could any item may be removed from the consent agenda? That's simply by an email, right? That's you send an email to the clerk saying, get it off. Is it worth clarifying, either verbally or electronically in item number 4? This is just really a question for the whole group. I think this addresses my concerns in, the merits of it.
Well, we generally communicate via email, correct?
Right. So it doesn't need to be specified.
Right.
Okay. So then I'm good. This is great. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, this
Yes,
addressed
thank
my
you, Sarah.
concerns as well. Thank you,
A
Sarah.
lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for being here. I think that you did a great job and it wasn't necessary, but I really appreciate the work that you did on this. So everyone is good to send this forward as long as the clarification on receipt confirmation is included. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Can you, that's great. Can you make that clear to the clerk? Like, I mean, I think a minor definition clarification of that word, like, I don't think we need to discuss it again. I think it can be under hearings and motions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I see nods. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Feel free to hang out if you want, but no need. Thanks for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Erin.
Okay. So now we've got,
Oh,
you know what? Do we keep going or I mean, we do keep going, but do we take a 2-minute break? Do people need a 2-minute break or do you want to just power through? Because my brain is not sure how much more we have, but do anyone need a 2-hour break? A 2-minute break.
A 2-hour
I'll take
break
it.
would be great. Let's do that.
Yeah, 2-hour break sounds awesome.
See you all at
Then we
10:30.
need to come back at 10:30. Anyone want a 2-minute break?
Do you? If you want a 2-minute break, let's take a 2-minute break.
No, I just need a moment of silence to be with the agenda for a moment to see where we are and what we have left. Yeah. Okay. But I'm a big fan of breaks. So if anyone wants a break, it's yours. Okay, all I can orient to is the public assemblies. I'll just say that I rewrote this and I shared it with you, Councillor Williams, and we heard back from Aaron about, I asked the License Commission a bunch of things, I think Board of License Commissioners. I still need to talk to Aaron to figure out, there's pieces of this. I think that I made it a much clearer ordinance, and there's pieces that the License Commission is required to have that I want to know what those pieces are, if they actually do exist, etc. So I would say to the clerk's office, if Tammy's listening to this, please do not put it back on the agenda until I ask you to, because we need to have a conversation about, I need to do some more research, and I am committed to doing that. I think it's important. Would you say anything else about that, Councillor Williams?
I have to read through. I would have to sit down with this a bit.
Yeah.
And read through it.
Yeah.
Because part of me, I'm already seeing under processing applications, C2, revoke an assembly plan prior to the date of the planned assembly. And that's up to the licensing commission.
Right.
It gets that stuff gets really sticky, because I don't think they should have any more power than scheduling.
Right. There's pieces that are not, like, I don't know if you've printed it out. You probably, if you're seeing it online, you probably see it with lots of comments from me. Like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? So the piece, if you just have it printed out, I am not in agreement with everything that is on the paper. You'll see a lot of things that I think we need to research.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can take responsibility for talking to Aaron about those pieces and doing that research. And I might come back to you, Councillor Williams. I might come back to the whole group, but I can hold that ball for right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. There are three significant pieces here still. Farming tag sales and precinct meetings they're not huge, but I actually feel like I do want like a 1-minute break just to get up and take my eyes off of the screens and get some more water. So let's just take a 1-2-minute break, and once we're all here, we'll be here. I'll be right back.
In 1-2 minutes.
Okay. I'm still in the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back when you are.
Okay. Farming.
All right. So, I feel like I'm talking a lot today, but so be it. The farming ordinance, thank you very much, Councilor Williams, for researching that. And your research showed that no disclosure, the state law does not require a disclosure notice.
Right.
So, given that, I honestly would propose, I'm not strongly attached to it, but to have us have something, I would propose striking through the disclosure notification. It's on the website. The law is there. It's not being enforced. There's no disclosure happening. I think people are able to do the research. Tasking the clerk's office or the mayor's office or anyone with disclosing it, I don't think is necessary. Or it might be helpful and good thing, but it's not enforced. It's not being enforced. Yeah. What do you think about that?
So my question, though, was
Yeah.
to the state commission was not, is there disclosure required? But my question was, and I maybe did this incorrectly, and I apologize if I did, but did there have to be a posting upon entrance of the town that this was a right to farm community? That was the question I asked. And that was the answer. The answer was no, that there did not have to be a posting upon entering the town that this was a right to farm community.
Okay. No. Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. No, I think the question that we need to answer is is any notification required? But if I looked at your email, I interpreted it as, I'm going back to your, hold on. Is that not what your email said? You said public posting, which is any public posting. I would interpret that as.
Sorry.
Okay.
My error.
Okay. Do you mind going back and researching?
Yes, I'll call the nice lady in the office again and ask the question.
Thank you. All right. Moving on. Tag sales. All right. This is one that another one that I committed to taking on. And currently, no one is allowed to have a tag sale unless they register it with the city. And the chief of police the chief of the fire department, the inspector of buildings have the right to enter onto private property showing evidence of a tax sale for the purpose of enforcing this chapter. I have not yet spoken with the License Commission. I did talk to Chief Dodge. He is not a huge fan of needing to police tag sales. I mean, this is my Chief Dodge. If you hear this, like, feel free to make that more specific. This is my paraphrasing of our conversation, and he said there might be really the concern, and we've got several different ordinances, junkyards and pawn brokers and something else, and this one that all kind of deal with the same thing. And initially I was like, oh, what if I look at all of them and make it comprehensive, and then I was like, no, I don't have time for that. But so the thing that they don't want tag sales, the License Commission, and I have not yet spoken to them, but the License Commission doesn't want people to just be able to set up businesses in front of their homes with tag sales in front of their homes. And so to deal with that, what I am proposing, and I'm putting this forward for us to have something to discuss, I can speak with the License Commission because I need to speak with them anyway about protests. But I'm proposing that we change this language to people can be allowed to have a tag sale in front of their house for a couple of days without having to go to the city to get a permit.
Mm-hmm.
And also I removed the chief of police from the enforcement of this. I don't want cops. There doesn't seem like a need to have cops show up in case nobody knows that there's an ordinance about this. And that's what I'm proposing to change.
Right. Release that moo-moo, right?
Seriously.
Sorry.
I like what you did here, Catherine. I think this makes a lot more sense.
Yes, it does. Good.
Okay. All right.
Because there have been perpetual tag sales going on. Like, I've seen several that every time you drive by, there's a tag sale at the house for
Well, that's the issue. Mm-hmm.
all summer kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Garrett, can you please write the note? This will also hold me accountable. To please put this for a public hearing.
Okay.
I will call the License Commission to hear if there's any good reason, and they might disagree with me, but that's not the issue. I want to see if they have any good argument against this, because they could, and I do think it's important to hear from them. If they have a good argument against this in the next few days before the 5-day rule, I will ask for this to be removed from the public hearing list. But if they don't hear back from me, it means that we're going forward.
Noted.
Thank you. Okay, and I am pausing and I'm putting that on my to-do list just to make sure that I do it. Call License Commission. Okay. And then the last one, we're almost there, is the Community Relations Committee did a lot of work on our precinct meetings ordinance to actually make it and more than enforceable, like something that we can actually do as a practice as a city. And they brought forward several changes. So I will be quiet now and pass the floor to you, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the Community Relations Committee went around and around about this because the language that was there, it's kind of like everyone and your mother could be on stage, for God's sakes. And it's like, what poor citizen would want to come in and say some Bob on stage and ask a question, because it would be very intimidating. So we tried to make sure that folks who needed to be there would be there, and that we included the school committee or superintendent or designee, et cetera. So it seemed like relevant people would be on, and obviously the precinct counselors at large, et cetera. So I think we went around and around and around about this, and I think now it's as good as it can get. We have to actually do it to see what happens, because it hasn't been done to my knowledge. So I think that we should proceed with this as is, run it through, see if it needs modification at some point, and improve it in the future after we do it a few times. But we do need to do this. Is so damn important, and it's so overdue. It's so fundamental as well. In terms of hearing people need to be heard. People, have issues, and we need to hear it. So I think I'm very excited about this. Actually, I think it's going to be a very good process. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for
So
your
be
work.
it.
Is there any discussion that's needed on this before we bring it for a public hearing?
Thank you to Patty and everyone on community relations for all the work on this.
Yeah, ditto.
Seriously, because otherwise we would have needed to do it. And I'm really glad that you all did it, and to Councilor Modulowski for prioritizing this in the committee.
And she did. She definitely did.
Yeah, I
she did.
know. Yeah. Okay, so this can come forward for hearing too. I like cleaning up the list, to-do list. Okay. All right, I think we're there. So our next meeting, well, we won't be this formation again, and I'll just say it's been a pleasure to get to work with all of you in this little formation. I'm grateful for getting to work with you all and the hard work that you all do and have done, and getting to this has been strangely enjoyable and easeful working with you all, and I'm very grateful for that.
What's changing? What's changing?
Well, we're not going to be this formation. This little group is not going to be. There will be other people, and we will love them too. But I love you all, and I just want to say thank you for this little group.
So, okay, I thought the new people that came on.
Okay. So you really okay. So
In
what
January.
happens?
Yeah.
So what happens is that at the organizational meeting, at the organizational meeting, which is like usually January 2nd or something like that, we will vote on the city council president and vice president. And then they decide who chairs, who is in the committees. And with all the change, all the people who are leaving and coming in, there will be different people in this committee. It could be still 4 of us and 1 other person. That is possible. But it'll be different than this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've never been in the movie before. Just wanted to see
what's going on here.
What are my lines? Just got to rehearse, All right.
So you'll need to decide who you'll go for leadership, and so that's that. Okay, so the next meeting of the Appointments and Ordinances Committee of the body, maybe different members of the body, is January 14th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. at the City Hall meeting room, 2nd floor, Zoom hybrid, unless otherwise posted. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And I will second that motion.
All right. So, Councilor Garrett?
Yes. Oh, yes. What's up?
Okay. You're already gone.
I already left. Sorry.
Fine. Okay. Councilor Williams?
Yes.
Councilor Gordon?
Yes.
Councilor Golub says yes. All right. You are.
Yes, and happy holidays to all of you.
Yes.
Happy holidays.
And to you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Not be
everybody.
remiss. Thank you,
Yeah.
Catherine, for everything you did to make this committee work as well as it did. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah.
definitely.
And all of you, but
Good night.